Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey in Your Own Backyard. I am Rob, and with me as always,
Carter here. Hello.
it's going to be a freaking fun night tonight.
Some people might get offended.
Well, about the episode is what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
They might be, but you know, if you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at?
True.
We're going to probably laugh at others today, but we can also laugh at ourselves.
Oh, I'll laugh at myself plenty.
Yeah. So, but we're in store for a big night tonight, too. We're going to do this podcast. We're going to have a little fun recording this, talk a little bit about wine, and then we're going to have a badass wine dinner.
Yeah.
With some other guys coming over and travel through the Rhone Valley.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we're going to have some decent things to drink tonight.
I think so. I think it'll be probably from somewhere in the 90s all the way up to, what is this?
Dude, it's
20 years old. So
Yeah.
some infants are in the lineup.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
All right. Well, today's episode, Carter, you and I have talked, and I...
Sorry.
I think I brought this up. Go ahead. God bless you.
Thank you.
I brought this up the other day to you about, did I bring it up to you?
I think I brought it up to you about being like well, I'll just go ahead and say it. A wine tater? We're still trying to coin the term that we want to use, but...
So, for those who know whiskey and drink whiskey, you know that term. You know what tater means. For those who are listening and are going, what the hell does tater potatoes have to do with whiskey? It doesn't.
It doesn't have anything to do with whiskey.
For whatever reason, I don't know where that phrase comes from, that name comes from.
I think Wade coined the phrase.
No, he didn't. I had that conversation
Oh,
with
really?
him. He did not. It's been around since like the late 80s.
Okay.
And I think anyway, we'll get back to you where it came from, but he did not. But he did start his blog, which is called Tater Talk.
Yeah.
And Wade is a bourbon expert. I'd give him that title.
I'd say like bourbon sage of Houston.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. So Wade has his blog, which is Tater Talk.
Yeah.
And he does all kinds of blinds. He does all kinds of experiments. And his blog is full of all kinds of information that is very interesting and really good reads that dives way deeper into the whiskey and what you're drinking and, how it changes. He even did a test on the neck pour.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist. So, Wade came out with, scientific evidence. You got to follow the science.
Yeah. No doubt.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
So we know that got cleared up.
What was it? Did he actually tip it over and put it back, or did he just pour it as is?
He let it stay upright off the shelf all the way home and poured it just like that.
Okay, cool. Well, that's a pretty good control.
Now, that's control. Then he had, and I'm kind of remembering, I think he had like 5 bottles in the pour. So one with like a quarter out, half out, 2/3 out, and then a brand new bottle, whatever it was.
Yeah.
He had like 5 different pours with different levels and different ages of those bottles. But anyway, we're getting off topic here. That's the neck pour. Neck pour gone. But also on Tater Talk is a list of, I think, just under 90 definitions of a tater. Or 90 examples. I don't know how you would, a list of, if you do these things or have said these things or participated in some of these things, then you are a tater in the whiskey world.
Yeah. So, I guess a little like, what we would consider a whiskey tater, for those of you who are not whiskey people, is like going out and searching for like Pappy specifically, or with chasing labels like, like Weller or, some of the super allocated things and, waiting in lines for 2 days and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and don't get us wrong. Every single one of us in the whiskey world are still taters. Now, our taterness may have, come down a little bit. Mine's come down a lot. But every one of us who have gotten into bourbon or whiskey, but specifically bourbon, have done things and still do things that can be considered a tater.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're not sitting here telling you these are all the things that people do and we don't. And when we start getting into this same topic and we translate it to wine, we're going to be examples of that as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So we're not trying to sit up here on a high horse like, we're better than thou. We're not. We've been all these things.
Oh, yeah.
And it's part of here's a Tater term, it's part of the
wine journey
or whiskey journey. Yeah, it's part of the journey.
It's part of the
you
journey.
Learn as you go. And so it's a lot of fun. But anyway, taters, you want to give you gave one example of chasing, allocated bottles.
I'd say like there's certain things like
here's one that Wade has. If you have an infinity bottle and you also have a spreadsheet of exactly how much and what's in that bottle, you're probably a tater.
That's pretty tater.
That's
pretty up there. So, I'd say definitely that. I mean, yeah, you know it when you see it. I mean, crotch shots of bottles you just snagged.
Well, yeah, and if you post a picture of your bar and nothing's open because they're a museum because you don't want to drink them,
that's another one for sure.
You're probably a tater. So.
yeah, you've got nothing but unopened like high-end bottles. Yeah, you're pretty much a tater.
You are a tater for sure.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, so let's talk about what makes a wine tater.
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is we need to decide on what we're going to, because this is our thing. I haven't heard anybody else, and we're in the wine world as well. But, I say the wine world like we're big. We drink a lot of wine. We're in a lot of wine groups. We like wine, whatever. So we, in the whiskey world, tater goes from, all the way from Asia, all the way over here. You see it from people all around the world who know that term. So it's our job today to coin the term that gets, used and becomes the stamp of a wine tater.
We might throw it out like on our social media. It's like what term that we're gonna to go with. I mean, mine was gonna be. So I mentioned a couple to you the other day, like a raisin or a crusher or a butter baby.
A butter baby. I like the butter baby. Don't be a wine butter baby.
Don't do it.
For me, I'm trying to think of something that's a quick, one or two syllables.
Yeah.
Butter baby. I'm not sure that, flows. I love the name though. Wine butter baby. I mean, a wine raisin I liked a lot.
The raisin, don't be a raisin.
Sandra had wine sippers. Anyway, I don't know. She was just trying to come up with something.
We'll throw a few things out. Maybe you guys can help us decide what's the best term. But anyway, I mean, see, the problem is, you could, like, raisins are just dried grapes, right?
Yeah, they're shriveled up, no good, And the point of this, let's make sure
unless you're making Amarone.
Unless you're making Amarone. We're not trying to bash on people. We're just poking a little fun.
Yeah. And trust me, like, probably all the things that we're gonna mention in this episode, we participated in at some point in time.
Oh, absolutely. And again, people who are getting into wine, and we have several friends who are getting into wine. To me, there's that exception for them. I'm not going to call them a wine raisin if they're doing some of these things because they're new to wine. And we're all new to wine. It's the people who do it, know they're doing it, and think it's cool. That's where, because some of our friends will educate them and go, hey, look, if you want to get into wine, here's what you need to do. Here's the do's and don'ts. And they go, okay, cool, I want to learn, and they have that kind of mindset.
Right.
So they're excluded. But for everybody else, like those who chase Camus and think it's the best wine in the world.
Oh, God. Okay, so this is a good way to just break. I think we need to just start out right here.
Okay.
I have to admit that it wasn't that long ago that I was like, oh, Camus is a great wine. Like, wow, this is like a high.
Not that long ago for you?
Not that long ago. Like, probably within the past 3 or 4 years.
Really?
Yeah. Like, no, but I just recently kind of I got into wine more deeply in the past couple years.
I would say that's true.
But so to me, it's like, oh, it's a name. And and here's what I'll say about it. Camus is not bad wine.
Yes, it is.
It's terrible for the price. It's absolutely terrible for the price.
It's an equivalent to me of like a Stella Rosa, or a conundrum from the Wagner family. It's just been so manipulated. 25, 30 years ago, it wasn't that.
I think that's more of where my mindset is, the older, vintages of Caymus and that kind of stuff like that.
They had the recognition, the notoriety. People knew it was a good wine. It was one of those in there with, the Pine Ridges and things like that.
Yeah.
So it was thought of as a very good wine. And then they manipulated it to be able to sell it and let it drink earlier so people didn't have to cellar it. And people who are getting into wine paying, $85 for this thought, well, this is great because they have a young palate and they think it's sweet. But for whatever reason, for as long as they do, they go, Caymus is my wine. Let me tell you a story.
Oh, God.
I was at a grocery store that sells really good wine. It's H-E-B here in Houston. And they have, several of them have really good wine selections. And most of them that have a good wine selection have a glass case.
Yeah.
That where the higher end wines go.
Yeah.
And there's some really good wines in there. Opus One, which is also
that's a Tater wine for sure.
Expensive wines is what I should say, not really good.
100 Acre.
But expensive.
God.
Expensive wines are in this glass case. And I'm just looking to see if anything's on sale down the Cabernet aisle. And this guy comes up and he's looking in the glass case and he asked the guy, hey, I want to get a bottle. Can you have the key? And the wine guy goes, no, let me go get it. And I was like, hey, what are you looking at? What are you thinking about getting? And he goes, oh, only the best wine in the world. And I go, really? Which one in here do you think is the best wine in the world?
No.
And which was it?
Caymus.
Yeah. It was Caymus. So I proceed to go ahead and go, okay, let me just take it if you want it. I'm kind of being a jerk. Don't take it as me being a jerk. I just want to educate you real quick. You're about to spend almost $100. I pointed out, about 5 or 6 wines that are in that case that were way better than Caymus. And said, look, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but if you've been drinking that, if you drink one of these, you're going to absolutely love it. And it's going to, kind of project you to another level. And he was like, oh, really? Yeah. And I went through this whole spiel.
And he bought the Caymus.
So we walked around the aisle. My wife came. I walked around with her, and I said, hold on. I want to see the guy's coming back with the key if he took my advice, and we'll buy one of the other wines. About the same price. And I'm peeking around the corner. The guy comes back, and he goes, which bottle do you want? He goes, the Caymus. And ended up buying the Caymus. Didn't care one bit about, telling him it's manipulated. They add sugar. They do this. It's not a great wine for that price. And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
If it's a $30 wine, fine.
I mean, if it was a $25 wine, it wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah.
You'd be like, okay, that's pretty good. But for $100 or $80 or whatever the hell they charge for it these days, that's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
But I think that the problem is a lot of probably novice wine people think that Caymus is good because it has a history behind it that was good. 20, 30 years ago, people you think of Caymus, it was a good name.
Absolutely.
So
that's why I say it had the reputation already. And then when people started drinking it after it was manipulated, now they're going, well, this tastes good too. And let's be honest, it really doesn't taste good. It's just, it's sweet.
I mean,
it's approachable.
That's like when people, from a whiskey perspective, for these people who are, for our listeners that know whiskey, to me, it's like the time. It's like when you chase Weller 12, and say you paid secondary value for it.
Yeah,
I mean, what a disappointment. I mean, it's good. It's good for a $34 bottle.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's run off some bottles that are Tater bottles. Obviously, Caymus already. Well, we got to come up with our term. Is it raisin? Are we going with raisin? Don't be a wine raisin. Is that what we're going with?
A butter boy?
A butter boy? But see, in today's world, you can't be butter boy. You have to be a butter person.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay. We'll go with raisin.
Raisin. Okay. So don't be a wine raisin.
Don't be a wine raisin. Okay. So I got another brand for you. That is, I mean, we could name several brands, several
labels, Okay.
That we would consider to be Tater wine. I do think like Silver Oak is
bingo
definitely up there. I mean, it's just like it's not like Camus exactly, but it is like one of those chaser, like people who are just getting into wine, they know Silver Oak, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, Silver Oak only has the 2 wines.
Yeah.
The Napa Valley and the Alexander Valley. Alexander being like $75.
Yeah.
And then Napa 125?
120. Yeah, something like that.
So it can be pretty pricey too, but you're right. It's absolutely a Tater wine. And we're not saying only expensive wines or these finer wines are Tater wines. There's plenty on the lower end in that $20 to $50 range that are also very much Tater wines.
Well, yeah, I'd say so in brands, but I got another one for you here.
Okay.
When you buy a wine just for the label.
Well, now I'm not gonna.
That's a cool bottle.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody does that for whiskey.
True.
That's a cool bottle.
Marketing is important.
Somebody just got busted in on his own wine raisin.
Hey, I've done that.
Well, so that's a Tater move too.
Yeah, I'm a Tater
and a raisin.
I've been a raisin. I'm probably still a raisin.
My wife is a raisin when it comes to that category because she'll be like, "I like that label. Can we get that bottle?" I'm like, "Honey."
Sometimes it lines up pretty well.
Sometimes it does.
Because like
Machete.
Machete's good.
Yeah.
I think like
now, some people might say it's an Orange Swift wine, and that's a raisin wine.
Okay. Now let's talk about the Orange Swift thing, because I know a lot of people hate on Orange Swift, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you pay a little bit too much for his wines, but generally speaking, the wines are pretty good.
For what they are, yes.
For what they are. Like, I think a lot of people think, when they think Orange Swift, they really think back to the days of The Prisoner. And to me, like, The Prisoner was a good wine back when he was there and blending it or whatever. But that was
and it was also less expensive.
Yeah. Oh, way less expensive.
Yeah, it was probably $15 less than what it is now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And back then, I agree that was a good wine.
Yeah.
For that price point.
It wasn't bad for that price point. Totally agree.
But now, I mean, people look at The Prisoner. What does that even go for these days?
Like $45, 40.
I thought it was over 50.
Oh, maybe it is. I haven't looked. I remember seeing it in the mid 40s. So, which is way too much. I mean, again, they took his, and it's not even the same, recipe anymore, because they took it. They got ownership of Prisoner, and they've manipulated that to what they want it to be. But people still buy it because it says Prisoner. And they think it's what it was, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and it's not.
I remember when I first bought that, first bought a bottle. This was, many years ago when Orange Swift was still there. And, I guess it was his wine, right? It the Prisoner. He wasn't just the blender of the wine. He was the owner of the company, or I don't know the history there.
Yeah, I don't either.
But anyway, I guess the point is, at the time, it was like a $35 bottle of wine, or a $30 bottle.
Yeah, I was going to say about $32, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yep, and pretty good.
Pretty good. Liked it. Yeah, so yeah, that's one. But, I would say, going back to the bottles that look cool, there's a, Tanasi, which is an Italian wine. Are
you talking about Tomasi? Which is like the Amarone?
The Amarone, yeah. And so to me, that's a cool ass bottle.
Yep,
and
cool
it's
label.
And it's a heavy bottle.
Yeah.
And so that actually kind of lines up. Like the cool bottle with the actually good quality wine.
Well, I think there's a lot of good wines that have cool labels. So I don't.
I mean, you gotta like the Chateau Neuf de Paf, the shield and stuff. That's kind of cool.
When you get into Old World, now you're they just have cool labels because a lot of them are chateaus or domains. With
it goes back to papacy and stuff like that. You know, but so we should probably tell them about the wine we're drinking right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well. We have a Costa Road. How do you say it? San Come?
Cosme.
Yeah, and this is like this is a 2020, so this is
young.
It's pretty young. Now
But it's drinking all right.
I haven't even sipped it yet,
have.
so let me give it a go. It's real cherry, raspberry, blackberry on the nose for sure.
Yeah, that black cherry, the dark cherry. Fruit forward, and you expect that on a younger wine.
Yeah. But I think this brings me to one of the other points. Now I feel like I'm dominating this too much.
No. Go right ahead.
People who are like will not open up a younger vintage wine. Like they're just like, no, you're not supposed to do that. Well, you can when you taste a younger,
I have one response first.
Okay.
If they only bought one, because that's all they could afford, I'm okay with that. If they say, I want to wait until this is supposed to be at its peak to experience, then I'm fine with that. But for me, and I think a lot of other wine people, having, 4, 6, or 12, where you can open up one young, make some notes, experience it, open up another one in a year and a half.
That's exactly what I was going to mention.
Okay.
It's nice to compare the wines to
Absolutely.
when what they taste like in their youth and then what they taste like after you've laid it down for 10 years or something like that.
Yeah. Because I think, we're doing Rhone Valley tonight. And I think I agree with you. I think people who like Chateauneuf de Pape, I think a while ago, and I don't know how long ago, it was kind of thought that you should lay those down for at least 10 years.
Yeah.
And, to me, I don't know if the wine producers have changed their technique or their process, but a lot of those drink very well, 4 to 7 years, right now. You don't have to wait 10 years.
Yeah.
Now, some of the higher end producers, you still might want to wait based on the grapes that are in there. But again, if you have multiple,
why not?
I have several of the 2017 from Chateau Beaucastel.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to have like several of them tonight from different years, from the 90s up into the early 2000s. So I thought, why not open up a more recent one and let's compare a 5-year-old one to a 20-year-old one.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, how much difference there is. So
I don't find that. To me, like the holier, like there's some rules in wine, but the holier than thou people to me come off as Tater.
Well, wine is, for the longest time, let's just say wine was thought to be very snobby.
Yeah,
it was it's a gentleman's drink,
and some
like
people
Scotch.
like to continue that tradition.
Some do.
I'm not that person.
Well, I'm going to be honest and tell you, the people who are kind of that way, and I'm just going to be honest here, are people with a shit ton of money and can buy all kinds of wine. And if they want something older, they buy it already aged from somebody else and spend, $1,500 on it. We're not going to do that.
I mean, more power to you if you've got that kind of money. I mean, go for it.
Yeah, just invite us over.
But I'll say there is something for everybody, right? I mean, for everybody's budget, you can enjoy wine, in the $50 range.
Oh, well, that's even way high. You can enjoy wine in the $15 to $30 range.
Sure, you can. But like, not everybody's gonna.
$16 for this.
Yeah, I think it's worth every penny.
Absolutely. I'd pay more than that, but it's that good.
And you could probably, if you bought a few of them, you could probably wait a few years and drink this, and it'd be fantastic. And
it's not bad right now.
It tastes really good.
I'm not drinking this going, okay, we shouldn't have opened it.
I do like the Côte d'Aron, though. I've found that I've liked what comes out of there for the most part. I know it's a little hit or miss, but
yeah.
Anyway, this is quite good.
Okay, so I'm going to break some people's heart here with what I think makes you a wine raisin. You ready?
Yep.
If you think it's the best way, the proper way, and the right way to use a flute to drink champagne, you're wrong.
Yeah, you're very wrong.
You're very wrong. Flutes are horrible. We have some, and they're for mimosas.
Yeah, or cheap Prosecco.
I mean, if I'm drinking cheap Prosecco, there'll probably be some orange juice in there.
Yeah, same.
So
yeah, I think
they look cool for a mimosa.
Yeah,
but,
if you do a mimosa or you do like a French 75 or
Yeah,
something
it's
like
a cocktail
that, you know,
glass.
it's just a cocktail, you know, that's cool. But like, yeah, you've really turned me on to this ever since I know you. You're like,
Yeah.
oh no, you need to get specific, you know, not necessarily specific, but
they make some good
glasses
champagne
suited,
glasses.
you know.
Yeah, they make what I call proper champagne glasses.
I
You know,
love
that still help it, you know, with the bubbles and the aerating and stuff, but you have the wider surface.
Yeah.
You know, you still have the aromas that are funneled up through the...
Because really, the to me, champagne, like one of the biggest components is the nose on it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
if you got a flute that's filled up, you know, to almost the brim, how the hell you knows that you're not?
Well, how do you aerate it? You know, when you
Yeah.
swirl your wine, how are you going to get it to open
yeah.
up and get those aromas then to funnel up?
Yeah, you're not going to get any of that.
No.
You know? So I do think that one is, I think this one is something that we need to, like, you know, preach on the, I don't want to get preachy, but this is one that we need to preach.
Yes.
Because you're really not enjoying champagne
No.
or sparkling without the proper glassware.
I totally agree. So anybody who says, oh, I've been using flutes, I still like to use flutes for champagne or any kind of good sparkling. Pro tip, just don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Stop doing it
Yeah.
because it's not the right way to do it.
Yep.
And you will thank us later. We're not being jerks about that. We're telling you because you will enjoy that champagne. If you're paying $35 to $80 for a bottle of sparkling, enjoy it the way it should be enjoyed. And that goes with all wine. That goes with all wine. Having proper glassware, so important.
Oh, yeah. These glasses you have are incredible. I mean, those who are watching the video, these are really, really nice. Who's the maker of the glasses?
So this is, this particular glass, I don't know who the maker is on this one. I have those other big Bordeaux ones.
Yeah.
It's actually there's this Italian glass maker who makes badass French wine glasses.
Oh,
so those are
that's
actually
cool.
the ones that I have for the champagne, for the white, and for the red are made by an Italian guy for French wines.
See, I have all my glassware is like the Scott Schweissel, like the German glasses.
Oh, okay.
but you know, these are really nice though. These you can really get your nose in there.
Yeah, I love these glasses. You can actually fit an entire bottle of wine in this glass.
Have you done it?
Again, why would you? Yes, and then I poured it back in the bottle. I just wanted to see, can it be done?
You doing the Russo pour?
Yeah, guess what that makes me?
That's a tater.
A raisin.
That's
a raisin.
Excuse me, that's a raisin.
I'm a raisin.
I had to call you a butter boy.
A butter boy. I'm a butter boy, too. Okay, what's next on your list for somebody who's a wine raisin, a.k.a. a whiskey tater?
Okay, and this, I did this a lot. Decanting everything.
Yes.
That is, to me, like...
And you post your picture of everything.
Everything's in a decanter.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you don't have to decant everything.
I also laugh when people go, well, I decanted this, but man, it took about 4 hours for it to get to where.
Oh my God.
And then after 4 hours, it was good.
Yeah.
Really?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, maybe you should look up how to decant a wine.
Yeah. You know, one of the things, just for people who don't drink a lot of wine and want to get into wine, I think people who do drink wine or are listening to this would agree. One of the things that you enjoy about wine is, because I heard a guy say the other day on a wine show, and I agreed with him after he said this. I didn't even think about it before, but he's right. I've never used an aerator on the bottle. I've never used it, but he's like, you shouldn't. Yeah. Nobody should be using that. He said, why do I want to do that to my wine before I get to experience it?
Yeah.
I want to pour it in, quick little, get it aerated a little bit in the glass, just open it up, get a sip. And then you need to enjoy that wine over 25, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, just watching the wine change, letting it change that expression and experiencing that, noticing that. Don't just chug wine. Wine is appreciated in drink because it is a living, breathing thing, and it changes in the glass. And that's what wine drinkers appreciate about it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't really use those things.
I never have.
I think I have.
I never had
because somebody gifted me one or something.
Okay. I did not use it because I thought, I never had an opinion on it. I just never got one. Never got one. But after hearing that, I went, Oh, well, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So
you don't want to rush the process,
yeah,
right?
you want to enjoy that. That's part of experiencing it in the glass.
Yeah. I could maybe see using one of those for not as great of a quality wine that you just wanted to pour like 4 glasses immediately.
Yes.
Like I could kind of see that, but beyond that, nothing.
Yeah, I mean, if a restaurant's using it to get it to a specific spot so that somebody can have it at the table and, get it to open up a little bit for them, okay. But if you're going to get a good bottle of wine at a restaurant, call ahead.
And just get them to open it, decant it.
Yeah, have it, done an hour before.
I've done that before at like a steakhouse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. They'll accommodate you there.
All right, you're up for the next thing on your tater list.
Oh,
your raisin list.
Okay, so,
So this still has some pretty good tannins on it. This will age a little while.
The overuse of certain tasting notes. One that comes to mind, stone fruit.
Who didn't like avocado? Don't you get avocado on your wine?
When you say stone fruit, that could be anything.
Yeah, peaches, apricots,
avocado. Like plums.
Plums.
There's tons of stuff with pits in them.
Yeah. Do you Kalamata olives?
Do olives count? Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
I don't know, but stone fruit.
Yeah.
No, but there's other terms too that people use. Like, oh God, this is a term that I freaking hate. Butter. Buttery. Everything's buttery.
But you haven't heard that on a red wine, I hope.
No, not
Chardonnay.
Just on a Chardonnay. Yeah. And you're just like, ugh, okay, yeah.
Oaky and buttery.
Oaky and buttery. You're like,
Well, I think new people in wine, and I've probably done this too, and we do it in whiskey as well, so I'm not knocking them. It is a raisin move, but we catch on to certain terms that are associated with certain whiskeys or certain wines, and we store those so that we don't want to look stupid when we're drinking.
Yeah.
So if you save a couple of those obvious ones, but what I would say is, don't feel like you have any pressure on you to come up with certain tasting notes. It should be whatever triggers in your mind. And typically what that is it's something that's an experience that you had before.
Right.
That triggers that. And so that's not really in the wine, but it triggers it to you of thinking back to when you had something, whether it was a type of food or spice or chocolate or whatever it might be. And so since it triggered that, that's what you're getting out of it.
So, and to me, and I've told you this, there are certain, there's a format for grading a wine, and, there's certain terms that people use, like sommeliers and that kind of thing. I'm not a sommelier. I'm never going to be a sommelier. So, I just use the terms that just come to my mind, and maybe I sound like a total dumbass, but, I don't really care.
Yeah. And I'm with you on that. You ready for my next one?
Oh, yeah. Go for it.
Just a tip for people. Have a glass with a stem on it.
Yeah.
There's a reason, people who think that a stemless glass is cool, it's not cool because it disrupts you enjoying that wine the way it's supposed to be enjoyed, because as you touch the glass on a stemless glass, you're heating up the wine.
Right.
And you don't want to do that.
I unfortunately have to have those right now because I'm living in a rental, and I had to buy some because they're the only thing that fits in the stupid cabinets at this rental place. So I just hold it at the top.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go. But, those who know.
Yeah, but you're right. Okay, I've got another one.
Okay.
Living and dying by the point system.
Okay, that gets into a good discussion because it comes down to whose point system.
Yeah.
Because, Robert Parker, fantastic.
Yeah.
James Suckling gives everybody 100 points.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's like every wine is absolutely fantastic, and we know that's not the case. So.
Well,
he's lost a lot of credibility with a lot of wine drinkers.
He has, but I would still enjoy having a conversation with the guy.
And a glass of wine.
Yeah, hey, I've seen some pictures when he's of some of the stuff he's drinking, which looks pretty good.
Yeah,
but yeah, to me, this point system thing, Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good guideline. You find somebody that you like, that you trust,
Yeah,
and you can go by that. But there are going to be wines that rate, 89. Oh my God, that you might actually like.
Well, and that's the thing. The rating system. If you really go and understand the rating system, I don't think it starts. I believe it's at 60.
Yeah.
So 1 to 59s doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
So you start at 60, and it used to be thought that anything between like 85 and 89 was a good wine. That's a solid wine. Anything that was 90 to 92 was a fantastic wine, and then you get into the 95s and the 97s, and you rarely saw a 100.
Yeah, right.
Now you're like, well, if it's not over 90, I don't want it. And it's like, are you kidding me? That doesn't mean it's a bad wine.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also funny to see some people give something a grade of 88, and somebody else like 96.
Yeah.
And it's like, but again, it's subjective. It's your palate. It's what you like,
Yeah, exactly. I think, there are some point systems that I'll say, oh, okay, if I see that, if I look at it and they go, oh, that's a 96 or something like that, I go, okay, yeah, that's probably worth a try.
Yeah.
Well,
here's what I also want to say about wines. When you grade a wine, when you're giving it a score, I'm going to ask you the question. Do you know what that score should reflect? In your opinion. There's not a wrong answer, but I have my opinion.
Yeah, so I mean, it's supposed to like the quality of the wine, right?
Bingo. That's it. Not does it taste good? Do I like it? It could be a wine that you don't particularly like because it's not your style of wine. Yeah. But you need to be able to go, but it's a quality wine. This is a well-made wine. And the word that people use a lot is, balanced. How's the acidity? Yeah. How's the tannins? How's the fruit? The structure of the wine. Is it a quality wine? And if it's a quality wine, that's what matters. Not, do I think it tastes good? So how good do I think it tastes? It tastes really good, so I'm giving it a 95. It has to be more on what is this wine and what's the quality of this wine. Notice I didn't say the quality of the fruit.
Yeah. The quality of the wine. Quality of the wine.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, anyway, I mean, I think it can be a decent guideline, but, evaluate wines on your own, I mean, there's so many wines, it's hard to just go out and just pick whatever, and so you need a little bit of guidance, but then you start learning, the different regions.
You bring up a good point. You are absolutely a wine raisin if you only have 1 or 2 or 3 labels and that's all you drink.
Mm-hmm.
If you've picked out 2 or 3 wines and you go, that's all I like, or if you go, all I like is Napa Valley. I mean, Napa's where it's at. Then you're a wine raisin.
Okay. Yes. Okay. And here's I'm going to say this and it may irritate some Houston people.
Okay.
But there are other winemakers in Châteauneuf-du-Pape that are that aren't Chateau Beaucastel.
Oh yeah. It's funny because I thought the same thing. I'm like, Chateau Beaucastel is really good.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because that one is just in this market so heavily that people can get it, so they drink it. But you're exactly right, man. Everybody. And check out our pictures later.
Yeah, because we're going to have so much Chateau Beaucastel.
We're going to have like 6 different vintages of it tonight.
But I mean, it's something, right? I mean,
I actually try to steer away from it because I try to find something different.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great wine. I have no issues with it. But it's like have wine cred. You you have to have a picture.
Are you drinking a Beaucastel?
Are you drinking a Beaucastel? It's like, oh my God.
And I get that they're different vintages, so the expression's going to change every year. But still, you're exactly right. I've thought about that one.
Anyway,
you know what else makes you a wine raisin?
What's that?
If you call everything with bubbles champagne.
Oh God, no.
Yeah. If you don't understand that Champagne's a region in France, kind of like Scotch is from Scotland.
Yeah.
It can only be called champagne if it comes from Champagne, France. Otherwise, it's a sparkling wine.
Well, it's like the difference between like saying brandy as a overall term, versus Armagnac or cognac, and
great point.
Those kind of things.
Great point.
You're narrowing it down to a specific region. I mean, because like in Spain, you would call it cava,
right?
And Prosecco.
In the UK, we just call it English bubbles.
Do they really?
Wow, that's what every wine person that I know who's in the wine business who has said, "Have you had these English bubbles?" And so everything's English bubbles.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, but English bubbles are very good.
Well, okay. I don't know what the Austrians consider bubbles, but I've had some pretty freaking good stuff out of Austria.
Oh, have you really?
Yeah. So anyway, but that is a thing for sure.
So we were in my buddy's wine shop out here in Katy. I don't know if you know Herman Key.
Know the name.
He's a big wine guy, huge wine guy, owns a wine shop. So I'm in there talking to Herman. We're buying a few bottles, me and Sandra. And I said, hey, Herman, we're going to do this podcast. And, he's big into whiskey too. So he knows the term Tater. And I said, we're trying to find the equivalent in the wine world. And I said, what are some things that you would come up with that would make you a wine raisin?
Okay.
And his first answer was, he looked at me, and on this wall, he goes, if you buy anything from this right over here, it's all Napa.
Yeah.
Goes, if you buy anything from Napa, you're a wine raisin.
Okay.
Now, I think that's a stretch.
He's
a huge old world fan, so I get it. There's some good stuff. And his first, reason for that was cost to quality.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I to that point, yes, I agree. However, to say that everything that comes out of Napa is not as good as the old world, I don't necessarily agree with that, because there's some fantastic wines that come out of Napa.
Sure.
But you pay a lot more for them, generally speaking.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we understand the reason for that. It's not just that they want to charge you more. That when you think about land in the old world, it's been in families forever. They own it. Whatever. They don't get taxed on it like in California.
Yeah.
Real estate in California and all the other crap that they have to put up with in that state. Don't come to Texas.
Yeah, but they have to. They really have a significantly larger cost.
They do
in making wine than the old world has. It's had vines growing there since the Romans.
So I learned, and then he started rattling off all these. If you didn't know that in Burgundy, there's one region where you can grow Sauvignon Blanc and make Sauvignon Blanc, you're a wine raisin. I didn't know that. Did you know there's one region in Burgundy? Because there's two grapes you can grow in Burgundy, for the most part.
Yeah, but I didn't know about I didn't
Pinot Noir,
and Sauvignon Blanc.
No, Chardonnay.
Chardonnay. But,
so there's one region. I go, okay, is this down south? As you're getting to Beaujolais and that, and he goes, nope. So I'm like, where is it? He goes, right smack dab in the middle, and he showed me on a map, and it's one region that's allowed to make Sauvignon Blanc. He actually had the bottles, so I bought one. So
sick!
Try that. Yeah. So that's a fun fact in the wine world.
I'd like to try that wine.
Yeah, I never knew. I thought it was always just Pinot Noir.
Yeah, and Chardonnay.
And Chardonnay.
Yeah.
But turns out there's one region where you can make.
That's interesting. So okay. I'm going to mention this because I'm looking directly at it, and you're talking about we were talking about Napa before.
Okay.
I'm looking at this 2005 Bacchus.
Oh,
I will admit, I am a Joseph Phelps fan.
We all are.
And that bottle is very expensive, but it's freaking good.
Yeah.
Do you pay too much versus the old world? Probably. But I really like that wine.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to be honest, let me say it this way. If you're going to have degrees of being a wine raisin, would you be more willing to buy one of the 5 chateaus first growth out of Bordeaux, or would you be more willing to buy like 100 acres or a Scarecrow or something like that out of Napa?
Probably the first growth out of Bordeaux.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah, I mean,
if I'm going to spend that kind of money, that's where I'm going to spend.
Yeah, but like for instance, this Bacchus, right? I think like when it was purchased, and that one's from 2005. We had it, not too long ago.
Yeah.
But when that was first purchased, I think it was like $200.
Yeah,
that's an expensive wine, but it's a good wine.
It's a very good wine, and that's the problem is really kind of understanding where that the law of diminishing returns.
Yeah,
what is that line?
Well, and here's another one that kind of came to my mind as we were talking about it. So, wine people tend to go like a little snobby sometimes, and this is more not the newbie wine person. This is the person who's been in wine for a while. Not ever buying from one of the big names because it's a big name. Like, meaning, like...
Give me an example of a big name.
So, like for instance, like Sterling or something like that,
Robert Mondavi.
Robert Mondavi or something like that. Like, I will never buy a wine, like, from that brand or whatever. And you're like, well, I mean, they do have some good things. I mean, I'm not saying the value, is there, but they do have some good wines.
I totally agree with that. No doubt about it. Robert Mondavi has some higher end things. And, let's be honest, he's not, the Mondavi family doesn't own it anymore.
No, they don't.
And that's a shame because it loses, those lower end, well, okay. It makes me think before I go there, you know what else makes you a tater or a wine raisin if you like this in the wine world? You ready? And if I bust a lot of bubbles out there because you love this wine, sorry. Bourbon-aged wine.
Oh, God. It's so bad. It's so bad.
I see so many people that go, this is fantastic. I love bourbon, and this wine is awesome. I can get hints of bourbon in there.
Oh, I've never thought a headache could come on stronger.
Yeah.
They were drinking wine.
If you think a bourbon-aged wine, a wine in a bourbon barrel is really good, you just got played.
Yeah. It's not my thing. I don't want wine to taste like bourbon.
Especially when it's like $13 a bottle.
Yeah. That's a really low quality wine that went in there. So just know that.
You're also a wine raisin if you think Snoop Dogg makes good wine.
Hey, he makes a rosé now.
Oh, of course he does. Of course he does. 19 crimes is absolutely a crime. It should not be on the shelf. That's some horrible stuff.
Oh, God. They sell a ton of it, though.
That's Australian wine. You knew that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just absolutely awful.
Well, they are.
Hey, look.
I mean, wasn't Australia a prison colony?
Oh, yeah. And if you buy that wine because...
That's a cool bottle.
Then you're absolutely a wine raisin because I don't know if you know this. If you buy certain, they have different labels on the wine.
Yeah.
And you go to the certain, you scan the QR code.
I knew that.
You put the phone up to it, it starts moving and talking to you.
Yeah.
If that's why you're buying the wine, because you can go home and show your friends when you pour it, you're a wine raisin.
Oh, man. Marketing is a thing.
And it works.
It works.
It absolutely works. This bottle right here, and you guys can't see my screen, but I'm showing Matt. We bought this wine on a recommendation of a friend. It's a Rioja from Spain.
Okay.
And this is absolutely...
That's a cool bottle.
What'd you say?
That's a cool bottle. That's what I said.
That's what you said. It's absolutely a fantastic wine. I bought it because my friend who owns the wine store made the recommendation to us. Well, my wife was not opposed to me buying that wine. Why? It's a cool bottle.
It's a cool bottle.
That label, she loves that label.
Well, I mean, I think that IGT that you get, the legit.
Oh yeah, legit.
That one's a cool. It got Thelonious Monk on the front of it. That's cool as shit.
And Jeremy Hart helped with that wine, and that was intentional to come up with a label like that and to call it. It's a Super Tuscan, but on the front label it says Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah, so they put it in the California area a lot of times. Like
they asked the stores to do that because they figured people will just buy it because it says Cabernet Sauvignon, and not realizing it's a Italian wine.
Yeah,
it's delicious. It's really good wine.
Oh my gosh, I love that wine.
A couple of vintages ago, it got in the top 100 wines in the world. So it's
it's a good
quality
wine for sure.
But that brings me to this is kind of funny. I've had friends. It's been a while since one of them have done it because I think they've been around me enough that they've gotten educated. But I love when, they're Napa wine drinkers.
Yeah.
And I go, they'll come over and I go, would you be open to trying a Bordeaux? And they'll go, I've never had that grape. I'll try it.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
Not a grape.
Yeah, not a grape. No.
That's the difference. When you go to Napa, they tell you what's in the glass. What's in the bottle, what kind of wine it is.
Yeah, sure.
And I love that people too. You're still you're a wine raisin if you think, because it says Cabernet Sauvignon or it says Merlot or it says Cab Franc, it's not 100%. It just reaches a threshold, which is 75%.
Right.
So at least 75% of that wine is that grape. And so it's allowed to be called Cabernet Sauvignon, but it's still blended with probably 2, maybe 3 other grapes that are in there. So it's funny when people go, I drink Cabernet Sauvignon. You drink a blend. It's a blend.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it's kind of like when you're talking like a Chateauneuf de Pape or something like that, you've got to have a certain level of Grenache in there, right? I mean,
it's a high level of Grenache.
It's like 51% or something.
51.
Like that. Yeah,
you're thinking bourbon.
I think it is. Like,
is it really?
It's like 51 or something. I'm probably wrong. So, but call me out. But
I think it's more than that actually.
Is it?
I think it's somewhere between 70 and 80%.
We can easily look it up, and then I can be like debunked. I don't want to spread misinformation here. But like from a certain region, the dominant grape a lot of times. But anyway, it's just the difference between New World and Old World wines, right? Like on a Napa, like they generally give you the dominant grape on the front of the bottle.
Well, yeah, and we're in the United States, and typical Americans, because we have Napa, and I'm not knocking Napa. Napa's beautiful. Napa is a lot of fun to go experience. Napa makes some great wines. It's just when you compare it to Old World, what you can get, it's just I don't want to say overpriced. It's just costs more.
Yeah, it does.
It costs more for a reason, but it costs more. And when you're on your wine journey and you're American, typically you start in Napa. Now, here in Texas, a lot of people might start in Fredericksburg. But typically you start in Napa.
If I've started in Fredericksburg, I probably wouldn't be into wine.
Yeah, you might have went, not for me.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too. Like, a lot of times I'll be talking, like, I used to work for an Italian company, so it's talk wine with those guys sometimes, things like that. And what's funny is you talk to people like that I used to work with, and they go, "Oh, you can find the best Italian wines in America because they make more money off of them here than they do over there."
I've heard that too, and we get a lot of good selections here, so no complaints. Yeah. But my point would be is on your journey, at some point, be open-minded to going to the Old World.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Value is great, but what you get, the different types of wines you can get are fantastic. And I know I said Old World, so we're talking about France, Spain, and Italy, but also be open to going to other New World places, whether it's Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, Chile.
Yeah.
That's what makes wine fun, in my opinion, is to be able to explore. Same thing with whiskey. We don't all have one bottle of whiskey, right?
No.
We have all kinds. And so same thing in wine. You need to be open to, even if it's the same grape.
Yeah.
How do they make Cabernet, a Bordeaux blend in Napa versus how do they make a Bordeaux blend in Bordeaux?
Right. Well, and that, okay, so this brings me to another subject, right?
Okay.
So at one point in time, I think that the idea of Bordeaux was something like, not just like what you're saying, like, oh, what grape is that? But like, I think at one point in time, a long time ago, people who were drinking California wines were like, yeah, I'll try a Bordeaux. Like they knew kind of generally what a Bordeaux was. You know?
I think, when you go back to the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, if you were drinking wine, you were probably drinking a lot more old world than you were anything in California.
Right. So I think that people considered Bordeaux like a good region, a quality wine, something, something that was really like high end.
Right.
But I think now a lot of people who get into wine, like they like Bordeaux, but like they'll kind of crap on anybody who's like, well, I like Bordeaux. Like it's like, oh, you're not cool. Like you're not Bordeaux isn't like cool anymore. It's kind of gone from like being something that's cool to being something that's like, oh, it's overpriced.
Okay, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that's not cool, but you can't find quality stuff there at a good price.
Yeah,
you gotta be,
And I would disagree with that.
I totally disagree.
Because I think you can find good Bordeaux wine for like not a bad price.
And let's make sure we're clear and we say, depending on where you live. I mean, we're pretty blessed to be here in Houston.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're in a big market, a wine kind of, if you're in a big market, Chicago, LA, Miami, New York, wherever, a big city, you should have some good Bordeaux at wine shops and big box stores and things like that. If you're in a smaller town, I totally get that you might not be able to find, you might be going bull crap. I can't find it in, Columbia, Missouri.
That's true. That's true. So we're coming from like a larger market, and that's a different perspective. But yeah, I do think there is some value in Bordeaux.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
And by the way, I love Bordeaux.
I do too. we have one we need to drink here pretty soon.
We need to do a Bordeaux night.
It's got a little age on it, the one we're going to drink.
Oh, well, hello.
Yeah,
I'll have a little bit more of this wine. I really like this wine.
Isn't that good?
Shoot, man, I'm enjoying this. Well, what would you give this rating wise? Like on how many raisins would you give it?
Well, I like that. That's our scale now.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. How many raisins you want on this one?
I would give this.
I think we should do a Portnoy style though,
okay. So there's 10 raisins.
Yeah, there's 10 raisins.
Okay, so I'm going to give this out of 10 raisins, and so we have to kind of define. A good wine is going to be what, 6 raisins. You're going to be good. 6.5. You're going to be, let's say 7 is really good. 8 is fantastic. 9 is out of this world.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would give this 7.3 raisins.
I was going to say 7.1. Okay. So I think we're in the same 7.1 raisins.
Yeah, this is it's definitely more fruit forward, but you expect that. Still has good tannins on it. I mean,
it really does. I'm enjoying
the acidity is good.
It's pretty balanced.
Yeah, I think it's a solid wine. And when you're paying, $15, $16 for this bottle,
dude,
you can't beat it.
Oh, yeah. Just bring this to a party and have fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what she said.
But just talking about value in old world and that kind of thing,
not just old world,
not
Argentina,
Chile, dude. There are some Malbecs that are just freaking fire. That are like $20.
Totally agree.
And I mean, we can get those here.
Absolutely.
At least in Houston, it's awesome, man. They have great value.
Absolutely.
But you have to think about, I'm sure real estate in Argentina is a lot cheaper than real estate in Calistoga.
Is it really?
Yeah. I would just a guess,
just a hunch. Just a hunch.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Here, in my opinion, you're a wine raisin. If you watch the movie Sideways and you don't drink Merlot because he said that in the movie.
Yeah, you got to do that. That's totally it.
Merlot is one of my favorite wines.
Well, I mean, we were talking about Bordeaux, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's one of the 5 grapes of Bordeaux. And let's be clear, people who don't know, people who do. But if you don't know, Bordeaux has the right bank and the left bank on the river. Mm-hmm. And if you go left bank, you're going to get more of a Cabernet Sauvignon forward wine. If you go right bank, you're going to get more of the Merlot is going to be the lead grape in that blend. So there's 2 different kind of styles when you go to Bordeaux.
And just because you're a right bank, Bordeaux doesn't mean it's bad.
Some of my favorites are from the right bank.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's kind of like like when you're talking about Rhone, like a lot of people have this like opinion. Like, don't get me wrong, I freaking love Syrah. Like
Rhone Valley is man's wine. Sorry, ladies.
It is kind of a man's wine.
It's bloody and it's raw and it's in your face and
yeah. But like I will say this. Like, I love Syrah.
Oh, yeah.
And some of the most coveted wines in France come from, Northern Rhone, right? I mean,
I was going to say, let's be clear, Northern Rhone is completely different than Southern Rhone.
Completely. And it's a lot smaller.
Yeah. They're called the same because of the Rhone River there.
Yes.
They're kind of tied together because of the river, but they're completely different regions. The styles are different.
Very, very different.
Yeah.
But I would say, like, when people are thinking about the Rhone Valley, like, generally speaking, they're thinking Hermitage. Like, they're thinking, like... Côte Rôtie, that kind of stuff. And don't get me wrong, those are freaking awesome wines.
Yeah.
Like, I love Syrah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, love it. Or Shiraz.
Or Shiraz if you're in Australia.
Australian. Or Australia, but I would say that Southern Rhone certainly had, like, Grenache is to me like an underrated grape.
Totally agree.
I love Grenache, and it should be respected in its own right.
Yep, totally agree. Well, all right. This has been a fun chat, man.
Oh, yeah, dude. We probably could go on another hour or two on this.
We might revisit the topic of, there's a lot more to talk about. And again, we're just having a little fun. Mm-hmm. We're trying to help people who want to get into wine that, if you're doing some of these things, you probably shouldn't.
Yeah. Learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure I probably did all of these things.
Don't drink champagne out of a flute.
Yeah, that's bad. Don't do that.
You're not enjoying that wine. But now, wine is a great, great thing. It's my favorite thing. As much as I like bourbon, I would give up bourbon if I had to pick one or the other because I love wine that much. I think it's just great with food. I love that it's still alive and changing and developing even in your glass, not only in your cellar. I just think wine is it's the best alcoholic beverage I can enjoy.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's biblical, man.
It is biblical. It's Jesus juice.
It's Jesus juice. Yeah. He makes some pretty good juice.
Yeah, nice job.
I love wine, and don't force me to give up one or the other. I love whiskey. I just have always been a whiskey fan.
Yeah.
But don't force me to give up wine because I freaking love wine.
Wine's great. And there's no reason you shouldn't like both, is my point. Go explore the world of wine, the world of spirits. There's all kinds of cool stuff out there. But wine is definitely something that is a rabbit hole. And when you get down, if you decide to go down it, truly go down wine, not just find 1 or 2 bottles you like, but really start exploring wine, understanding wine. You're never going to complete the journey.
Yeah.
But it's a journey that you will absolutely enjoy. And if you have a spouse, a partner that enjoys it as well, man, it's something that you can do with them going to different parts of the world and wine being part of your vacations and trips. I love that. I love that about our trips and vacations.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's just going to a great city that has great restaurants or wine shops or whatever, wine's always involved.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Well, fun show, man.
Yeah, man. We crushed it. You know what I'm saying?
You turned me into a raisin.
I turned you into a raisin.
Well, thanks everybody for listening to this episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey in Your Own Backyard. And until our next episode, enjoy your next pour. Ours is about to happen.
Oh, yeah. Cheers, everybody.
Rhone Valley, here we come.
This will be a night.